Meet Emily. Over the past few years, she has started buying more and more organic, fair trade, and environmentally friendly products at the grocery store. She's also started to read labels more carefully and enjoys buying products that align with her values, products that she can feel good about. Consumers like Emily have helped drive the explosive growth seen in the fair trade food industry over the past decade. Retailers also love the fair trade label because it drives sales at a higher price point. A recent study showed that sales of two of the most popular bulk coffees in stores rose by 10% when the coffees were labeled as fair trade. Emily fits with a new type of consumer, one who considers the total value of a product as opposed to just looking for the lowest price. Unlike the food industry, fashion has lagged behind in appealing to customers like Emily. Top retailers rely on the unsustainable practices of fast fashion to keep costs low at the expense of workers and the environment. But with the recent tragic factory collapse in Bangladesh and increased awareness of the negative environmental impact of poorly made fashion, knowing how their clothing and accessories are made is becoming more and more important to consumers. But there's a problem with the fair trade and environmentally friendly handbags that are currently on the market. First, they tend to be in boutiques and small stores that requires effort on the consumer's part to seek them out. Also, many consumers complain that these types of handbags don't fit their personal style. They're too hippie looking or too casual looking are common complaints. Another problem is that these handbags don't solve the problem that they were designed for. They're not functional. They don't have enough pockets or the right kind of pockets, or they don't fit the type of items that consumers want to carry. And the final common complaint is that these handbags are just too expensive. A majority of consumers are actually willing to pay more for environmentally friendly and fair trade products, but they're still price sensitive. Enter Ethos. Ethos creates modern, stylish, yet functional purses and handbags made only from fair trade and environmentally friendly materials. Ethos connects to the consumer through an easily accessible e-commerce platform. Rather than relying upon a designer to anticipate what customers will find appealing, Ethos allows customers to choose between a variety of basic bag designs depending upon their style preferences and what they'll be using the bag for. Then the customer can choose between a variety of different fair trade and eco-friendly materials to customize their bag to their own personal taste. As you can see, each option is information rich, providing style information along with details on how the material or fabric is sourced and why it's sustainable. This serves to educate the consumer while also allowing them to feel more connected to the product. Ethos focuses on creating stylish, visually appealing, and functional bags first, but that consumers can feel good about. Our team has learned a ton throughout the course of the Lean Startup competition, and Ethos has come a long way from the idea that we had on the first day of the course. So what were some of the things that we learned? We were really happy to find out that a majority of the customers that we interviewed do care about how the products they purchase are made, and are attracted to fair trade and environmentally friendly products. So fair trade and eco-friendly can be a huge selling point. But that when it comes to clothing and accessories, style and functionality and cost come first. So our handbags need to appeal to customers first on style and functionality, and then the fair trade and environmentally friendly piece really comes as an added incentive to purchase. Another lesson that we learned was that while some women really love the bright colors and unique designs of the Shipibo textiles, a lot of other customers really wanted more muted tones that were more versatile and would go with a lot more of their outfits. So we decided to expand beyond just the Shipibo textiles so we could appeal to the personal styles of more customers. We also learned here that the majority of customers really preferred if the Shipibo textile or environmentally friendly materials like recycled cork were used more as an accent in paneling of the bags as opposed to the entire bag. And this really helped influence and shape our MVP designs. Another lesson that we learned was that even though a majority of customers care about how their products are made and want to buy fair trade and environmentally friendly products, there is a gap of awareness and knowledge of where the products that they currently buy, especially in handbags and clothing, come from. So this means that marketing and consumer education is going to be extremely important for the brand. Another obstacle we found was cost. A majority of the customers that we talked to were willing to pay more for environmentally friendly or fair trade products, but there was also a certain price point that they weren't willing to go above. And the fair trade and environmentally friendly fabrics and materials tend to be more expensive. And then producing the bags in an ethical manner also increased costs. So establishing economies of scale is going to be extremely important for this business model. We also learned that even though style preferences varied greatly, there tended to be a number of basic bag shapes that most consumers preferred. And we were able to use these most popular basic bag shapes to create our initial MVP designs. And then on the topic of MVPs, another lesson that we learned was that before you start a competition like this, make sure that you have somebody on your team who can build your MVP. We didn't have a designer on the team, but we're working with a few designers who were helping us out for free. And we also learned that you get what you pay for. And we ended up losing a couple of our designers midway through the competition and had to search for a number of freelance designers and ended up paying a pretty good designer by the end of the competition, but we lost a lot of time in that process. So those were our major lessons that we learned throughout the course of the competition. And we learned those lessons primarily through customer interviews. We did over 60 customer interviews and got those interviews in a number of ways. In the beginning of the competition, we went out to storefronts and bribed strangers with chocolate to try to get them to stop for a few minutes and talk to us about their handbag purchasing habits. And then we also just inundated our friends and family with requests and also had a survey sent out. And that was a pretty good way for us to get a lot of interviews. So this is what our business model canvas looked like on the first iteration. We thought our primary customers were eco-friendly and socially conscious, and then we also thought we'd be targeting boutiques, and we would provide a moral reward or a helper's high as a value proposition. We thought our products would be fashionable yet unique. We also thought the story behind the product would be a big selling point. So we tested those hypotheses in the first round of customer interviews, and we found that most women found the moral reward and the helper's high and the social rewards of buying fair trade and eco-friendly very important. And also, it was extremely important to them that the bags were fashionable yet unique to their individual style. But then we found that the story behind the product was only mildly important or not at all important to most consumers. We also tested our customer segment assumptions during this iteration and found that a majority of women don't really consider themselves strictly a green consumer or socially conscious consumer, but rather consider fair trade or environmentally friendly an added benefit to a product that they already like. We also found that a majority of women find boutiques interesting but hard to get to and not very accessible. So in our second iteration, we focused more on the Whole Food shopper and the young adult aspirational consumer as opposed to the green or eco-friendly consumer. And we also moved away from boutiques. In the second iteration of the canvas, we examined why consumers don't buy more fair trade and environmentally friendly handbags. And what we found were that first they're hard to find, that consumers didn't see them anywhere and had to seek them out. They also didn't like the style or look of the bag, or the bag wasn't functional, not enough pockets. And then there was also a lack of issue awareness, as we talked about before. There was a gap of knowledge, and then cost was another barrier for consumers. So then by the final iteration, we really focused in on offering fashionable and functional handbags first, and then also making them customizable to the personal style of consumers. And then leveraging the moral reward and the helper's high as an added incentive to purchase and a competitive advantage for the brand. We also shifted focus from small boutiques to big box retailers because accessibility to fair trade and environmentally friendly products was a big issue that came up in our interviews. So we're really excited about the direction that we're going with our business model and have a lot more to do in the future. And one of the first things to do is, of course, more interviews. We just finished our MVP designs with our new designer, And we'd like to interview all the customers that we've interviewed so far and new customers to see their reactions to the designs, what they would change, etc. So we have a lot of solution interviews to do over the next few months. And then in the fall, we're participating in 2 college courses where we'll have a team of business students from DePaul and then also a team of fashion students from Columbia University to work on 2 different projects. The DePaul team are going to help us with designing and executing a Kickstarter campaign that will launch towards the end of the fall quarter. And then the Columbia students are going to help us refine our prototypes and help us establish our manufacturing and sourcing. Thank you so much for your time, and please contact us at ethosbags.com.